his head, look, it's his birthday. Say happy birthday. He just dropped his phone and broke it. No, happy birthday. No. So what I'm saying is, when I used to hear nonprofit, I'm like, yeah, whatever. But I've spent 25 years around 3 Jewels, and to have an organization, a group, meaning a group of human beings who decided to come together and sustain some mission, some meaning, some purpose. So us humans can have extraordinary experiences of living life, death, sex, power, and all the things we do without the interest that you might have at a job, right? If you do the project, I'll give you the money, or the promotion, and so there's this selfish, personal give and take that's small. And here it's the whole place built by volunteers, designed by volunteers, the programming run by volunteers. The teachers began all as volunteers. Everyone's studying a certain philosophical view, a Buddhist view, but Buddhists don't own happiness or transcending suffering. And so we're very real because it's New York. You can't bullshit too much in New York. Everyone has a really good bullshit monitor, and so everyone here in New York has taken these ideas from human beings, by human beings, to human beings, or whatever that, yeah, you get it, and turned it into a life of practice. Part of that practice I'll talk about today. And so welcome to 3 Jewels. That's really why I said that, because I see some faces that I don't know. And I see some faces that I do know, and I have seen give of their time to make the space that we share today. And I'm looking at some faces that have given of their time for 12 years, consistently showing up, not taking a cent, painting these walls, teaching for free, going to schools and teaching kids for nothing, how to meditate, how to take care of their minds, how to overcome stressful situations, how to find some peace. I also see some people that have started doing that in the last 2 years. It's not so much like, good on you, you did it. It's a kind of magic when you see what's usually a restricted human potential. When you go to work, you do your job. Sorry, I keep looking at you every time I'm going to work. I'm pointing to this one person, and I keep like, you've got to work for money. Sorry, I'll look over here. When people walk around too small, I think, if I'm going to be honest, too small because I'm a teacher right now, or I'm a worker, or I'm a partner, or I'm a mom, and I have these identities that I hold on to. And the thing that we're practicing, at least trying to at 3 Jewels, is we've gone into the Tibetan Buddhist philosophy, the real texts, the original Sanskrit, the Tibetan, like literature that the Dalai Lama has to memorize to practice. And we've put it into a modern way of applying it day to day. And that's the essence of this place you've landed. And so the reason it's a big deal that it's a non-profit is because we don't have a vested interest in making cash. We have a vested interest in making sure more people have access who need it. Buddhists also are a little shy. We're not proselytize? What's that word? Someone help me. Proselytize. There you are. Hi. Now I see who you are. You masked man in the corner. So we're not supposed to go to your door and knock at the door and say, have you heard of Lord Buddha? We're not supposed to go and say, can I invite you to, we do say, can you memorize the sutra? Like, would you like to memorize this book? The sutra on the 4 forces, or the Heart Sutra or something. You're supposed to only really invite people to have the realizations that are in these books if there's potential in them and a want to do what these practices do. And in essence, I can summarize Buddhism in 2 ways. First of all, is to transcend. It's to transcend suffering. And the acknowledgement that there is suffering is like the first thing the Buddha ever said after they got enlightened. And Buddhists are really good at identifying suffering. States of being, mental, physical, states of being which hurt and which we don't want. Including, I wish Hector would get on with it. You know, like that's would be classified as a suffering. Come on, Hector, you've been there already 10 minutes. I've heard this talk 2,000 times. I know what rituals is. You know, like that little nagging, blah, 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 is can you transcend that and have a different experience? Because that other experience is available. That's not enough, though. Buddhists don't think that's enough. The other thing is, can you, in its place, find the bliss potential in every moment of being? So it's not enough not to suffer, but what if you're in constant ecstasy as you move around your state of being? And I know it sounds like a lofty goal, but I don't know, in all the schooling that I've done, conventional schooling, like I'm talking about primary school, high school, I know you Americans have a different thing, university, then I went post-work to try and get my master's, all the education I got at work. Nobody said, can you transcend suffering? You know, they hooked me with, do you want some cash? You know, and I'm like, yeah, do you want promotion? You want some fame? Notoriety? I'm like, yeah, I'm interested. They didn't say, do you want some sex? But I'll try and find it in there. They did say, do you want power? They did, right? You'd be powerful, yeah? Be powerful. And so I need to say all that because I need to establish we're at 3 Jewels. It's a Buddhist center. We teach meditation, Buddhist philosophy, yoga, and we do a bunch of outreach, like a bunch of, can you get yourself out of the way and help someone else that wants to get happy, essentially, whether it's in transitional housing, whether it's scholarships for people with financial issues, like whatever it is. Our job is whoever needs access to transcending suffering and reaching states of bliss, happiness, goodness. That's our job. That's 3 Jewels. That's why we come together as community. And that's what we try to practice. And that's all Buddhism is, because that tells you that if you do those things, you would then Buddha to awake, Buddha wake up to the fact that the way you thought life was an illusion, wasn't really it. It was like a dream that you just had. And if you do certain things, certain practices, which are specific and are not what we think initially, then you would Buddha, you would wake up to dropping that illusion that the way you thought life was, which tends to be too small for our potential, and actually see the scope of what you could be. Just taste it, either intellectually or viscerally, and then you woke up to the fact that you are way more than you could ever think you are from this perspective. And that's what Buddhism should be about. That's what we practice. And I say all that because I know for me, and I'm assuming for many of you, as soon as someone says Buddhism, you probably have some Buddhism. Don't say fuck. Don't say sex. Don't say blah, or whatever image you have about Buddhism. It's not all of wake-up-ism. If Buddhism is a practice to wake us up, I need to invite you tonight to question the assumptions that you think a Buddhist or wake-upping practice is. Because those archetypes that you have in your minds, like I still have after 25 years of fighting with them, are the things that are keeping us too small. Like, who thinks meditation is finding complete peace and you should not have any disruptions? Anyone? Right? Like, this should not will appear. right? And then you're just not practicing with that part of reality, which is a reality. I'm having distractions, you know, unless you've taken vows of celibacy. Who thinks that being a good Buddhist means you don't do sexy time? Like there's some part, sexy time. That's what we used to call it in the 1800s. No, I know I'm having, Renata's like, I'm having a hard time talking sex. I'm like, sex time. Yeah, I can talk sex, but it can come off weird because I'm an old guy with a beard. Yeah, it can come off creepy. So when I do talk about sex, when it does come to me talking about sex, I invite you to think that I was 20 as well. Yeah, and I was 30 as well. So it's not this thing. Think of whatever thing you want to think about that it lets you think about sex in a healthy way. Ooh, okay. What I need to invite you tonight is, if Buddhism, if these practices that we are supposed to habituate ourselves to engage in over and over and over are supposed to, Buddha, wake you up from a state that is constantly too small or hurting or too tight or there's suffering in it, to a place where you don't feel tension or restriction or unhappiness. Yeah, and instead you feel like this kind of open bliss, like an inquisitive, constant joy of engaging with what is. If that's Buddhism, then I need you to question the assumptions you have about what practice is. Because the quicker you do for yourselves, and I don't know your limitations, the more you're likely to actually practice and not create more suffering because you didn't meditate properly, or you didn't memorize the right sutra, or you didn't, you know, whatever restriction you have. Oh, I live in New York, I can't meditate. I have to be in robes and in a cave, as if the cave doesn't have mosquitoes and rats and, you know, rain and mud and stink of sulfur. Like I've meditated in caves. It's way more comfortable for your body and mind to meditate in a safe home. Still quiet, still relaxed, so your mind can settle. But we have these mental images of what practice should be. And I propose, that's why the talk title, Sex, Power, Money, I added fame, because that's also what we want to do. I propose that by the end of the talk, you might have, if you want to, have a new way of engaging with those things that can make them practices that are beyond the limited understanding that we have about what is sex. What is it really that attracts us? So, like sex, someone say sex, you know, some of you probably have images of, when I say sex, a whole bunch of feelings and things about it. You might have negative experiences, you have limiting experiences, you might have blissful experiences, depending on where you are in your relationship to sex and being a sexual being. Those assumptions are there in front of you. Just like the Buddhist assumption of being a good Buddhist, they're right there, and they're informing what you're doing. They're commenting, I didn't meditate properly today. I mustn't be a good practitioner. You know, I didn't do sex properly because it didn't feel so good. I mustn't be a good sex practitioner or whatever, you know, sexual person. You know, like who's got voices that are weird about sex in their head? You know, like, oh, dude. Who's got little corners of their minds that are so private, but not ashamed, but you shouldn't say it in public about sex? Yeah, you're all got kinks and excitements and, you know, pretending they don't exist ain't a good practice. It feeds the pretending they don't exist. It feeds the negative association we have with those things. And it's nothing to do with the sex, but it's to do with your relationship to the topic that gets you to be who you are. And so if you're all weird about that sexy kink thing that you're not telling anybody about, not even your partner, because of fear of this or that or the other, then that's growing. The fear and and you're feeding that part of your being that even if you're trying to practice not that. Is that making sense? Because that's what we're deeply engaged with, even though we're not looking. It's what we're not looking at. It's like the bottom of the iceberg. We think it's the iceberg, but it's this bottom part. So my first invitation was, and is still, can you check your assumptions about what it is to practice wake-upism or any of these practices? Because if you check the shadow corners of your assumptions, you're going to have to go looking at, do I really think that to be a good practitioner, I should never have any distractions in my mind? Or do I think that my mind has a different power to see those distractions as something other, like a purification, like an invitation to learn more about my mind and therefore other people's minds, to lean through the discomfort of maybe I'm not good enough, and that story is feeding that corner. And then not good enough can turn into, look what you discovered, a kind of compassion for other people that have not good enough. Then it's a practice. If you've turned something that was restricting into something that was waking up from that restriction, and Buddha woke you up and turned compassionate. Because when you see that, I mean, next question, who's had in any aspect of their life a negative life experience and then had at least an intellectual, if not a heartfelt understanding that maybe other people go through this, and now I have a kind of compassion for people, a kind of love for strangers that might have the same problem as I have, and I wish I could help them. Like who's had that kind of, I wish I could, right? What a stunning gift. What a stunning gift. But before it was a shitty bad thing. And now it's a compassion. What a nice Buddha. What a nice awakening moment. What if that became so habitual? What if you knew the mechanics of that, that you could apply that to anything in the shadows? Hence talking about an unhealthy relationship with sex, power, money, and fame. Does that interest you for me to talk about it that way? Yeah, good. So if you are a well-trained Buddhist, it might trigger you, okay? But if you're a practicing Buddhist, like an inquisitive investigator of what is practice and what is my mind doing in relation to this thing, it should intrigue you, if not invite you to not have blind spots in your practice. And this is something I was trying to think to share with you tonight in relation to those topics. I have to talk about the essence of what it is that we practice and the key that turns it on. There's some core concepts that you can't not work in order to wake up. There are some key concepts of understanding the nature of what is, that if you don't work, you won't wake up. You'll just continue pretending or in dream state or tripping over why things happen the way. And those two concepts are the idea of karma, which you've heard about. And I want you to check, even if you think you've learned it, I want you to check that your understanding of karma is deep enough for you to work everything into a practice, because there's nothing that is not karma. The next thing I need you to think about is the word is emptiness, but what it means is that everything is not only the way you experience it. And the way that I like to say this recently is in the visual field, we humans can only see 0.0035% of the light spectrum. In other words, what you're currently seeing, what you have been seeing all your life, is a sliver of reality, of visual reality. And it seems to suffice, right? Like there's a moving body over here. You think this is everything that's there to see. I think this is everything that's there to see. You're missing out 99.99 something percent. We're not seeing the big picture. And if we Buddha'd, we would wake up. It would be like seeing the big picture. But it's a graduated seeing of the big picture. Emptiness, meaning things are not only what they appear, means that everything your mind engages with, whether it's a physical outer object, a sensation, a thought, anything at all that you capture in your awareness is not what you think it is. It is that for you, but ultimately it can't be that. And the example that we usually use is this pen, but the one that I used recently in a Google chat, in a chat with the Google group, was this. I was giving a similar talk, and this lady's like, hold on. Are you saying that as a wake-upist, as a Buddhist, I should walk around and just be happy whenever a bird shits on me? Because bird shit is bird shit. And I'm like, that's great, right? Because that's a good example. I should be able to answer that. And is bird shit bird shit? When she says something like, people say it's good luck, but I just got shat on by a bird. So can I invite you to think, if you got shat on by a bird, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Is that good luck? Or is it just shit from a bird on your shoulder? And think about what comes up in your answer. And so it depends who's engaging with that substance. If you're walking around and you're like in a certain state of mind, you might look at that and go, I got lucky today. And someone's like, no, but it's still bird shit. And you might like, yep, it's bird shit. But I got lucky today. So bird shit can make you lucky or it can make you upset. But as humans, we still see it as bird shit. Yeah. We can say, okay, the feeling was different, but the substance is still bird shit. I'm not going to touch it, and that's fair and that's true. But then the flies that just landed on it going, yummy, fresh food. How exciting. They're going, yeah, you got shat on by a bird. Now I got yummy food. This is warm and tasty. And these flies are having real experiences of what you call bird shit. And for them, it's sustenance. It's actually good. Like they're happy to have it. So which is it? Which is it separate from the fly? What's it separate from the humans? And when you think about that question, and it's vital and it's important, it's one of the keys to wake up. You have to come up with, it's empty of being yucky by its nature, because flies like it. It's empty of being yummy by its nature, because humans don't like it. So when you remove the humans and you remove the flies, it is you're like, what is it? Well, it doesn't have a nature by itself. It requires a relation to it, an observer. And then observers can have two different valid experiences of the same thing. Yeah. That thing doesn't carry the power. No. Where's the power? In the minds that engage with it. Yeah, but I want shit to be yummy. Why do flies get all the fun? And therein lies your understanding of karma. If you understand karma, which is defined, get this, okay? Because if you get this, you understand what to practice. Karma is the movement of your mind and what follows. That's the definition of karma, according to a book 350 AD, from the Buddha's mouth, written down in 350 AD, but it was passed on, his sutra says. Karma is how my mind moves. And how did my mind move? Oh, disgusting, bird shit. Or, oh, I'm lucky, bird shit. That's how those two minds, human minds, moved about bird shit. How did a fly's mind move? Must have moved positively because it's sustenance. They could have flown anywhere else, but they flew there. And it's not by choice that you decide in the moment what's yummy and what's not. Because you have tastes. You're not going to eat that, right? Everyone with me so far? Yeah. Anyone want to eat it? No. Hannah, you sure? She's like, good. So note this, the practice is, there is a reality that is yucky bird shit. Buddhists do not negate that reality. You've got to understand this Otherwise, you will become a dumb Buddhist, okay? Wake-upists recognize that there is shit on your shoulder, but they also recognize that the shit you experience on your shoulder doesn't have the nature of shit by itself. It is in relation to something in your mind forcing that whole experience, because that whole experience does not force itself onto every mind, because some minds think of it as food. If you get that, then we've established the what to practice. That's the essence. The essence is, can you unlock your minds? Can you Buddha? Can you wake up? Can you get out of the dream that you're in at the moment because you're locked in by 0.0035% of reality? Can you wake up and see the stunning nature that's available behind the limiting, narrow view that you're forced to experience by your karma, by your mind, by the movement of your mind? What follows? Your reaction to that movement. Thinking, we hate bird shit, we hate birds, let's throw stones at the birds, let's bring the birds down, no more birds, etc., etc., etc. That action, hating birds, bashing birds, throwing stones at birds, create your karma for how you experience things later. And we are blind to that, meaning we don't know that we are causing hurting, throwing stones, harm, as we're trying to create happiness in our world. And that's the big, terrible mistake that we make in our lives. Now, what's that got to do with sex, power? Because you all came to talk about sex, sexy time, right? Who understands what I said so far or thinks they understand what I said so far? If you understand that we have a personal reality world going on, we also have a shared reality world going on, to humans seeing things as shit. We then, Buddhism says, we then also have a metaverse kind of world where those two personal and shared realities live. That ultimate world, that bliss world, is where Buddhas abide, those that have woken up. You're no longer limited by your personal myopic experience of the one thing. You're not even limited to your shared human experience of this thing. Know that there is a bigger metaverse, bigger way of experiencing this thing than you currently think there is. Do you see how I'm talking about 3 layers of being? What do we practice in those 3 layers? Plant the seeds that let me force myself to see things not as terrible, but as good, because they don't have a nature. The nature is coming from the observer, not from the thing. If this was radiating goodness like it's doing it to flies, why can't I taste it and enjoy it? If it's radiating disgustingness, like it's radiating, like humans think it's radiating, why can't flies be disgusted by it and stop coming to it? And when you investigate that, then you know what to practice. I'm going to apply that to sex, power, money, and the rest, because that's in the shadows of modern Western practitioners. We think we can't talk about sex or be too sexual or be too weird about sex. We can't have power or look at power because power structures are terrible. And we can't have money and fame because I'm a good non-profit Buddhist. And I challenge that those assumptions are not helpful. That there is not just practice to be had in those 4 elements, but fast and extraordinary practice for those that can maintain a real understanding of karma and emptiness. That's the proposal. I took half the class, but I think it's important for us to know, engaging in anything, whether it's bird poop, sex, power, money, or fame, it doesn't matter what your mind is engaging with. You're practicing something all the time. And what Buddhists say you have to practice to Buddha is unlocking that metaverse reality behind the shared human experience or the myopic human or animal experience about matter, sense, experience, things. Did you hear that? That's what it means. Now, can we do that to sex? Just like we did to bird poop. Can sex be a practice? And here's a warning sign for some nice modern 22nd century. What are we? 20-something century? What are we? 21st century still? I'm young. Okay. There's a graduated path to wake up that Buddha laid out for everyone. And then for the last 2,500 years, a bunch of people have practiced these things, including meditation, to turn on the wake up part of our mind that would have us wake up gradually. You know, oh, this terrible thing doesn't have to be terrible. There might be a bare minimum, a lesson in it. And then terrible things don't have the solid nature of just being terrible. But that takes a long time to change 1, 2, 3, 4 minute states of being that are suffering one by one into a non-suffering state. Can we transcend all of them fast? And the answer is yes, if you go to the observer, to the one that's having all the experiences, if you really focus on the mind that is creating, generating all your relationship to things, yucky poop, yummy poop, weird sex, exciting sex. Yeah. Who says that when I talk, I invite you to lift up your hands. Who would agree that when we talk or think about sex or sexual things, we get a little internally worked up more than if I talked about forks or something, you know, like, yeah, but it sounds obvious, but why? You know, like if I say, don't think of the last time you looked at a porno or whatever you watch, like everyone's like, I didn't watch porn. Never. But you probably have porn in your head as I'm saying porn, right? Or some kind of porn. You have some in mind in your, you have some mental image. When I say porn, you're imagining something and you have a relationship with it. And what I'm trying to highlight here is, who is that more amplified than forks? If I say fork, who says yes, it's more amplified? Yeah, porn, sex. Come on, you're 17. You got both your hands up. Yeah. Juan, you don't have to have your hands so high, okay? You're like, yeah. Yeah, it's true, we have that. It's a heightened reality. If you're actually practicing deconstructing the nature of reality, which includes poop, yeah, it includes the nature of your mind in meditation, can you focus your mind to try and investigate the real nature of this myopic, small 0.0035% of reality that we currently see? With meditation, can we try and understand that what we thought was this is actually this? And when you get that feeling in meditation, you're like, oh, wow. That's the idea. That's the idea behind training in meditation. Can you sustain your mind's attention on investigating reality that was myopic and all of a sudden be released from the limiting grips of our myopic reality? When you can, in meditation, see that bird poop can actually be bliss. It might be shocking if you really felt it. You're like, what the fuck? I want to taste bird poop. Like it might be that kind of aha moment. I'm like, according to my experience in meditation, my simulation, bird poop could taste as good as dessert. If you had that aha moment, it might be shocking, but I propose it's only shocking to the small view. Who was it? Okay. It might be shocking to the thing that's keeping you small. I'm not saying go eat bird poop, but could you understand how flies could love it? And not just like, yeah, flies love it, but it's disgusting. If you could get to that aha moment about something as mundane as poop or fork in your meditation, Imagine the power of a similar understanding when you try and investigate the nature of something that is highly charged, like sexual energy, like deep desire. But desire is driving you for something all the time. What if you could find that nature, this thing that moves us to do things? Sexual urges are uncontrolled almost. They happen so fast. What if you could ride that tiger of this energy moving through you as soon as you say porn or you have a mental image? Or, I mean, can you remember the first time, not sex yet, the first time, free sex, the first time you got close? Like maybe you like each other and they said, yeah, I want to hang out with you. And you're like, oh, I can't believe this, want to hang out with me? Like you're like, right? And you're trying to act all cool and things are good. But inside you're like, hope nobody can tell. Of course, everyone can tell. We all recognize that in everyone's eyes. We're like, oh, they're in love. We go to weddings because of it. Oh, they're in love. I wish I was in love. I used to be, and now I'm not. I'll go to the wedding. But can you remember that moment? And then when your narrative, if you're self-aware enough, I think your narrative going, they're about to come in for the kiss. They're leaning, I can feel their skin on my shoulder. We're leaning together. I think this is the time. Should I have that first kiss? Should I turn around now? Because if I turn around and I happen to be looking over there, then we're going to kiss. You know, like the stories, you've all had them, I'm sure. And they happen in many languages. Who's had that in Spanish? Who's had that in English? Sarah's like, I had it in Spanish. Any other language? You see, it's the language is just the words that we put to that sensation. So here is the thing. If you could wake up through analyzing reality in meditation about mundane things like forks and poop, what's the nature of, you know, or just feelings of anger or feelings of hope, or whatever. What if initially in meditation, you could ride that force that is so inviting, we're so attached to, right? And imagine that the result of thinking about the ultimate nature of that thing, that blissful thing, see, it's got bliss already in it. It's got the result in it. If the result of wake-upism is transform suffering into bliss, this highly charged, oh my God, they're about to kiss. I can't believe I'm doing it tonight, you know? Imagine if that turned into wisdom. How many times do you have that urge, even as a memory? How many times do you have that excitement? Every time you sit and watching porn, you know, like. And so what if you just removed all the weird labels and looked at it for what it is? It's this highly charged thing that we humans do. Can I turn that into my method to wake up, rather than, I'm a good Buddhist, don't think sex, don't think sex, 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 don't think sex. Sex is bad, sex. And so we're obsessing about sex in a reactionary way, and yet we're still meditating on sex, but not getting the result we want. You see, just the shadows are full of the things that are running our programming. We're just pretending that they're not. I don't know if I'm making sense. Is it? Yeah, yeah. But it's a dangerous thing because we're attached to that sensation. So what if you got the sex, right? Like, okay, they touch you, they kiss you, whatever you make it. Can your mind still be in that insight, in that wisdom that understands, hold on, this moment is just an extraordinary moment of being. It doesn't have that nature. That nature can't come from them. It can't come from their bits. It can't come from our lips touching. It can't come from our eyes locking. this bliss experience is really my karma, my projection, my reality. And if in that moment you could at least begin to recode the attachment with insight, with wisdom, then that must give results. And next time you feel sexy time towards someone, for me, it's often on the train. It's like I'm looking at hot people on the train going, don't be a bad Buddhist. You've got a boyfriend, don't, you know? And I don't think that's a healthy way to practice. So for those of you who already have a practice, let me share a little bit on how to transform beyond the mundane sexual bit juice watching experience that most of us turned sex into. Sex is way more, could be more than that. That sexual energy, that attraction could be way more than that. So here I am on the subway. There's hot people everywhere in New York. Everyone's hot. More than Paris. No, it's not true. Almost as many hot people as there are in Buenos Aires. How's that? Yeah, there's a lot of hot people in Buenos Aires. Wherever you are. I'm taken. I've got a partner. Should I be looking at hot people? There's a Buddhist vow that says no sexual misconduct. A promise that to keep a partner, you shouldn't behave in a way that you wouldn't want them behaving towards you. You should respect and honor your partner because there's a special bond. There's a vow, a promise in Buddhist practice not to do that. So many people confuse that with everyone must be ugly from now on. Because I've got a partner and I've made a promise that to keep and grow and honor that partner, I shouldn't behave in a way that disregards them. I shouldn't cheat on them. I shouldn't obsess about other people. I shouldn't have desire over others. Like that would harm my relationship. Shouldn't, because it would have a consequence to break me up. I shouldn't try and covet other people's partners if I don't want my partner coveted or etc. That's the essence of that vow. So what do you do with all the hot people walking around New York? Start pretending they're ugly? They're not, they're hot. There's so many hot people in New York. So then what if you acknowledged that your world is filled with beautiful, hot people that rise this fire inside of you of, wow, how stunning. Why does that need to turn into, I want to grab that body and do things to it? Like that misassociation is what we're transforming in the practice. No one said that you see a nice thing and then you got to abuse the fucking thing. Who says that? But we think that. Why? Hunter-gatherer? I don't know. You know, there's a hot person in the subway, so sexy. If nobody was watching, I'd remove all their clothes and touch them. Like, it's weird. That's not necessarily always the consequence. Like, it's not what hotness, it's not the only thing hotness invites us to do. What if your relationship to that hotness, that stunning person, could be reinterpreted, repurposed, so you have a different outcome? So I see hot people all the time, and I see more and more hot people. And if you've ever come to Three Jewels, you can't get away from hot people. It really is. I hear it all the time. I'm like, I'm the old, haggard, saggy man in the Three Jewels, and everyone else is hot and stunning, and everyone's agreeing in studio, which I wasn't expecting. I thought it was going to be a joke, and everyone's like, yes, yes. Sorry guys, I got distracted. I fished for a compliment, didn't work. They're like, yeah, you're the old creepy guy in the and now I'm fishing for the opposite. Yeah. No, but seriously, if you understand what we're practicing, and I'm saying practice in the three levels, not one level is separate from the other. You have the individual level, my personal reality experience. I see hot people. Yeah. What is that? Sixth sense. I see hot people. I see hot people. Other people agree with me. Yes, they are hot. Okay. It doesn't mean they're hot, by the way, just because two people agree with you. Okay. Just like bird poop. It doesn't mean it's disgusting because you think it's disgusting and you can get all the humans to agree it's disgusting. Birds would probably, I don't know if birds eat it. Anyway, cats would think it's yummy, and so would flies and the rest. There's a bunch of creatures that disagree with you. And so it doesn't have that nature. So just because you see hot people doesn't mean that others must too. And if you thought that, you would be in the illusion. And if you want to wake up from the illusion, you could practice in that moment to say, hold on, my mind just had a karma, a reality net over something that is multiverse, like it could be anything. This person could be anything, just like the poop, because they're empty of a nature. But for me at this moment, they're hot. And not just hot, they're like hot. They're New York hot. Oh my goodness, I can feel the flames. And if instead you remove the suffering response, which is to grope them, not appropriate in the subway, right? If you removed that, if you consciously worked with that hotness and go, hold on, I acknowledge hotness. It must be coming from me, like yuckiness is coming from me about the poop. Stunningness is coming from me. At this moment, my mind is seeing reality through the filter of stunningness. You don't have to jump to groping. Can you hold on the stunningness and acknowledge, fuck, I just saw human beings are stunning, rather than competitive, annoying, smelly, and all the other things you think in the subway? Can you abide in that tiny little experience of a perfect universe that your mind is currently experiencing about that hot person, and not be lost in the misunderstanding that because they're hot, I have to take them, especially if they're with someone else or you're with someone else. But you can acknowledge beauty, and you can abide in beauty, and you can habituate your mind to intercourse. I have the capacity for beauty. My mind has capacity for beauty, and turn that into a practice where you might wish, may others see this beauty. And if you begin to shift that and not be hooked by the misperception that there's hotness out there and now I have to have it, because that will surely take it away. If you can acknowledge that hotness, or the thing that's stirring up about that hotness, and go, wow, I still have this bliss inside of me and this expansiveness, how stunning, how blissful that state of being is. And then reassociate your response to the object, which was your mirror for hotness, your mirror for stunningness. It's nothing but you, because some people think that person's ugly. For you, they're hot. For them, it's ugly, like the fly and the human. Can you abide in the reality that your mind just created a perfect, stunning creature? And if you want to keep that state of being and wake up that it's not just them, that it's you, then you better know what to practice when you have those moments. And it's not like, I want them to date me, or I want to grope them, or it's not that. Is you want it's acknowledging the mechanics that is creating that hotness, and wishing that everyone else could see the same for them. May you see every beauty, every person as something stunning. You grumpy old lady who's been screaming at your kid for the last half hour of the train ride, may you wake yourself up and see that there's hotness around, that your mind can make hotness. And when you're in that state, you won't be screaming at your kid. Or you who's upset and obsessed on the phone and trying to be really cool because you want to be liked. But you know, if you could just acknowledge that there's hotness here, this feeling I have, may you all have it, and may it just take over your state of being, so you stop being too small and can abide in this little momentary fart of goodness that my mind had. Because then people will be ugly in a minute. Like in a minute, people will be ugly. especially if you grope them. Or even if you're not, even if your fantasies come true and they like come and sit next to you and go, hey, how are you? You're like, you're creepy. When our minds flip like that, there's not too many windows where bliss arises. And for those of you who are nerdy, wake up as students, this is why it's vital and important to understand exactly what to practice and have a foundation for that practice. That's why we study at 3 Joules. We're not just walking around going, oh, I like hot people. It might sound like that in this talk, but we have like 7-year curriculum, 18 courses, 10 classes with homeworks and quizzes and assignments and the whole thing in the courses to force us to question everything in that scenario. Why would you want to transform a hotness attachment into a hotness giving away your bliss to everyone? And if you understand that, then you understand compassion practices, you understand karma practices. Example, a karma, a movement of the mind and what follows, defined in the 4th chapter of the Abhidharma Kosha, 350 AD by Master Vasubandhu. Good. You're like, oh, that's what Buddhists are practicing. A movement of the mind and what follows. A karma has 4 ways in which it functions. It has 4 ways in which it ripens. It has some laws to how it works. Like produces like apple seeds produce apple trees. They're not going to produce lemons. So kindnesses produce kindness experiences. Nurturing intentions and actions, movements of the mind which are nurturing, will produce nurtured experiences in your mind associated to outer objects. Did you get what I just said? Yeah. Another little mechanics that you might find in all the nerdy studies that are vital to remain in the practice and not go woo-woo, yeah, is that if you want a karma, a movement of the mind, a planting of a seed in your consciousness, to result quickly, when you put that apple seed, for you to have a quick orchard of apples, then the soil needs to be fertile and nutrient full, and the rains have to come at the right time and the same amount of thing. And growth can be fast if certain things happen in the outer world, right? Same for the inner world of seeds in your mind. If you want karmas, your actions to produce a result with which we color the world to be fast, they say, do that action towards those who are very important to you, highly charged people. For example, my partner's just finished an operation where they removed a thyroid cancer. He just got out of the hospital today. Stephen, yeah. We kept it sort of secret for a little bit, just because we wanted to see the outcome, whatever. He's doing great. Yeah, it's a good thing. He doesn't have cancer today. He had it yesterday. Yeah. Me thinking about that is way more important if I told you a cat had cancer. Like in my mind, I know it shouldn't be, but it does. It's much more powerful for me to say, oh, Stephen's fine, that to think, oh, that kitten's okay. It really functions that way in my mind. Someone hurt your mom, or someone hurt someone on the other side of the world. Which is more heightened in your mind? My mom, yeah. So one of the codes of how to really make a powerful imprint of karma that will then create your reality is make sure that the being with which you're engaging, or the object of your karma, is very potent for you, because you're heightened, yeah. Similarly, when someone's hot, you're like, I really want them to pay attention to me, right? Not them, not them, them. All of a sudden, your mind is much more open, much more fertile for that to have a quicker result. The other thing they say, did I say charged emotion? Did I say that? The object, and then the emotion should be high. When you're really angry the karma's fast, the result will come quicker and stronger. When you're blissful, the object's special and the result will come stronger. So what more powerful conduit for karma, for transforming reality into bliss, than this sexual energy that we have, this desire? It drives our lives. The internet would not have been what it is right now were it not for porn. Like, it honestly, like, there's statistics that the reason technology advanced so fast is because that's the first thing that goes through the system. It's like porn, sex, pictures, and then videos, and then we're obsessed with it. So can you get on that tiger and do that? Now, I've had the same. Am I making sense? Because I'm hoping that it is making sense. Yeah, good. I can't tell every now and then if I've gone too far into my own Buddhist studies and practice and forget my language. So I want you to tell me if I make no sense at all, and I'll give you time in the questions as well. I really wish I could just give you the shortcut. And I really wish that you wouldn't misunderstand what I'm saying, that you could understand that what I'm saying is the entire stories that are moving through your mind are where the work is done. The outer things are just tools for acknowledging what the hell my mind is being coded with. Because what my mind is being coded with, the way I make assumptions in my mind, the way I make correlations in my mind, the stories I create in my mind are the realities that I will be forced to step into in the future, once those seeds give a result. When I walk down the street and some white thing falls on my shoulder, whether or not I'm going to go, wow, that's lucky. Whoa, that's terrible. Oh, look at the flies, they're enjoying it. Or, like everything, this can be an entry point to understanding the ultimate nature of all things. And I wish everybody could see this bird shit as the proof that life can transcend suffering. That's possible. For someone to walk around the city covered in bird shit going, if you could only tell how beautiful life is. You are so lucky to be shat on. It's possible for someone to be there, and we would call them crazy. We would. We would. But we don't know what's going on in their minds. We really don't. And some of them might be crazy. Yeah. There was a saying in Spanish that in the land of the blind, the person with one eye is king. I don't know how you say that in English. How do you say? Torturo? What's person with one eye? Torturo? Tuerto, gracias. Tuerto. Great. Tuerto. That's my Australian version of tuerto. Oh, tuerto. And so if you understand what to practice, then everything without exception, bird poop or sexy time, or more subtly, the pre-sexy time want that arises in you can be transformed from creating just another normal that must necessarily end into being something ultimate that must necessarily expand into bliss. And it's the same with power. One of the mistakes I did early on in my Buddhist career is shy away from power dynamics. Everyone should be equal, equanimity. Yeah, everyone should be treated, and that's not the meaning here. It's not the meaning here. There are power dynamics. Who has a power dynamic with their boss at work? Wish they didn't, but does. Yeah, who has a power dynamic in their family? Like, who's like, when someone complains about the garbage, you're like, okay, I'll do it. Or you're the complainer of the garbage. We have power dynamics all the time. Pretending things don't exist isn't a Buddhist practice. acknowledging that whatever arises and exists is in relation to you, and you can transform it or grow it, is a Buddhist practice. So if something arises in your world and you like it, like the feeling of sexy time, if you know what to practice, you can amplify it, so then the next train ride can turn into even more hot people that you want others to enjoy. Rather than the next train ride becoming hot people that you feel ashamed about looking at. They'll both create more of the same. The same for power dynamics. So when I went to work after learning all these essential Buddhist things that you learn here at 3 Jewels, I misunderstood the power dynamic. And here's what I've got to say about this. I hope you hear it. You want to be powerful. Acknowledge where you have power. And I think the test is, you know, you have so much power that you could be really hurtful and harmful. You could destroy things. That powerful. In 2 words or in an action, that you have and possess that power in a dynamic, at work. I mean, some of the Buddhist vows were written for kings and queens, people that ran entire countries and kingdoms. And it was inviting them to work with their power. Don't destroy towns is one of the vows. Stop destroying towns. Practice working your power, having pliancy, awareness on how to direct your power, so it creates incredible goodness in the world. If you don't have any power, you can only create tiny goodnesses in the world. If you have the power to destroy and you tame that power to create, then you have power to create and do goodness in the world. That's a mind fuck. It took me mental intercourse. It took me a long time to begin to be at peace with the relationship with power. Pretending it doesn't exist is a problem, because there is a power dynamic and now you're in denial. At the end of the day, Wake Up's practice does not deny anything that exists. But if it's harmful, it transforms it into good. And if it's good, it expands it by giving away to others into more. And the same for money. You don't have to, if you're broke, you can do less things in this world. You might be able to do really good things internally, but if you're broke and you're dependent on other people helping you all the time, there will be times where people need to help you. But if that's your pattern, then I challenge, well, what is the value that you're really giving to the world? If you're always asking, yeah? There are times where you should ask, and I know this is controversial, right? And so there are bodhisattva practices, there are Buddhists who, like the richest person in Tibet was the Dalai Lama. He owned everything. Now he gave it all away, but that's power and that's wealth. But what's your relationship to it? Because pretending it doesn't exist isn't a practice. And so the summary of all that is, if you experience a good thing, look at it, engage with it with wisdom that understands, oh my God, my world was created by my mind. Like kindnesses in my world, like kindnesses I did before, I get to experience stunning things in this world. The first thought should be, may others have it too, because things don't have a nature, they come from us. May others see that too, so they can learn how to do that themselves. And if it's harmful, the opposite. Stop doing harmful, engaging acts like taking what you want, competing, pretending things don't exist. And when you get some results, wish that upon others who are locked into negative cycles of the world is too small. The end of the day, the story is that you have your personal experience that won't go away. but you can expand it to understand that there is a relational experience of world and life. And in that relational experience, there is way more than your myopic reality. This world has way more than what you experience life to be. But supporting all of that is this metaverse of reality, infinite potential, because you understand that things don't have a nature. That gives everything, everything without exception, complete power for transformation, where birdhood can be the chip on my shoulder that told me I understand the way the universe functions, blissfully, joyfully, wishing everybody could enjoy like I do. And seeing hot people on the subway doesn't have to be, I'm so bad, but it can be, oh my God, how extraordinary. People are lovely. I hope others can see lovely people. And train ride after train ride after train ride. I can't wait to get on the subway in New York and wish that upon others. That's my story. I did say I'd leave time for questions, and you got 2 minutes. No, I'm happy to answer questions. I can hang out for 15 minutes. The name of the talk was that, but the reason for the talk was because we're doing an end of year fundraiser at 3 Joules. Every year we're like, listen, we gave everything away. We're trying not to make a profit, but we are trying to make sure people have access to meditation, yoga, wellness services. If you can, this is the time where I invite you to please be generous. You can go to the donate page on our website and donate what you can. Don't just give us money. If you want it to be in a practice, imagine what this money can do. Money is just concentrated effort. All the work you put into work, and you've got some numbers on your iPhone, and then you're putting those numbers in someone else's iPhone. It's just your concentrated effort. So a good Buddhist practice to amplify abundance is to think about the value in your $5, $100, whatever it is that's meaningful for you. And to imagine that amplified, that concentrated effort can turn into moments of mind of awakening for those that take classes who can't afford to do. For example, the last meditation teacher training, we were fortunate enough, thanks to the generosity of so many, to offer scholarships for people who couldn't afford the training, but should have done the training. They were just lived in the wrong part of town or didn't have the right income or whatever. We were able to give 44% of the people in the training some form of financial help, either a full scholarship or a partial scholarship. And that's true for so many of our classes. All our classes online are free or by donation. So if you enjoy 3 Joules and you can, I invite you, please spend your money where it will grow beautifully. And if you can't, becoming a member, if you take classes here, becoming a member helps 3 Joules as well. Rachel, am I forgetting anything else before I open for questions? Running away.
Sorry, I had just stepped out of the room. No, that was really comprehensive, but if folks are interested in going deeper, we have the opportunity for retreat, which is coming up in mid-February. So Sarah Blackburn, who's in the meeting right now, and Earl Burney, her partner, accompanied by Sam Walensky, who's going to be teaching yoga, are guiding a 6-day silent meditation retreat in Nicaragua. So that's going to be awesome. And then, so Hector, I didn't hear you say this yet, but you're going on retreat. And so you're going to be gone for all of January, pretty much, which means that your regular Tuesday night Dharma classes are on pause. And in that interim, we have 4 teachers who are going to be holding something called Enlightenment Club. Kelsey, who I saw, John Chris and Sachi, and also Maya. These are all teachers at 3 Joules, and they're going to be holding a space regularly starting the 2nd week of January to talk about, what it's like practicing or thinking about practicing with these principles. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Rachel. And for those of you that don't know, Rachel is one of the directors at 3 Jewels, and we don't pay her enough, but she dedicates her entire life to do it. So donate knowing that it's not going to go to her. Sorry. It'll go to all the students. Love you. Thank you, Rachel. It's true. You got to look at reality. So I'm happy to answer 1 or 2 questions. I don't want to go over time. If you need to log off, thank you so much for being part of 3 Jewels. I love this place more than I love my corporate work. I'm not afraid to say it. And I'm bringing more of this into my corporate consulting work than I ever did. Because frankly, I'm a little bored of just going, yes, work really hard and you'll be happy. It's not true. Unless you're working inside. And you can do that at your job. You can. But you got to know what to practice. Yeah. So yes, work your ass off inside. And then it really doesn't matter too much whether you're making widgets, coding computers, or making videos. I didn't want to make a porn joke. Okay. But I did. I'm sorry. Any questions or comments? Hi, Mila. Nice to see you. Wow. I didn't recognize you.
Yes, my question is very specific. Like, what kind of thoughts or mind states one need to think during an orgasm?
That's a great question. It's a very good question. I can give you an answer, but it will take a lot of time to relax into that. And the reason, I'll tell you this, the reason an orgasm is an important state is because I don't know if you've had this in orgasm where you're almost not there anymore. Yeah, it's so blissful that it's like you almost disappear. Yeah. If you can think of, don't think of bird poop, but it's basically the same. It's basically the same thing. That sense, because sometimes you've had an orgasm where you don't feel that way, right? But the building up to it is like, I'm going to have that feeling. If you could observe that reality as it arises and recognize that because it's blissful, it must have come from kindnesses, from good mental seeds. If you could look for the emptiness of that moment and hold the bliss, meaning it doesn't have a nature, but by God, I'm having this extraordinary experience. Lucky bastard me and whoever you're being orgasmic with, right? If you could then wish upon that an offering to everybody that you could possibly imagine to have that kind of bliss, and it doesn't have to be sexual, it could just be any kind of bliss. May everyone have it. Because it doesn't have a nature, I'm lucky to have it. So think of its bliss, think of its emptiness, and want to give it away. If you could do those things, initially, I think you can only do that after the orgasm. And later on, you could, as it's arising, get yourself into that state where you're naturally wanting to give away this thing that came out of your kindness. I hope that answers. There's so much more I'd like to say about that, but not in 2 minutes. Thanks for that very potent question.
What was the specific question, sorry?
Now I have to repeat the question, Mila, because someone didn't hear it. And the question was, what should I be thinking about at the moment of orgasm? Yeah. Yeah. And I like that question a lot. My teacher would tell me, don't answer it. Don't say orgasm. No. But good question.
Do you have to take the role?
Good question. Yeah, that's awesome. The question was, do you have to think at all? Yeah. Yeah, good. No, but I'll give you a Buddhist answer. What does your mind label that experience, you see? So there is always an awareness of what is happening, even when you almost lose yourself. And the thinking that I'm saying, it's good that you caught me on it. I'm not saying sit there, stop the joy and go, the mechanics of my orgasm, like, wait, don't come yet. The mechanics of my orgasm is that they don't have a nature, just like the bird poop. The guy with a beard said at 3 Jewels. Let me rethink that. You don't want to do that in the middle of your orgasm, correct? Yeah, that's why I said you might do it later. However, when you analyze, you can do this after orgasm. when you analyze that bliss or what happened, your mind did have, your entire being had an energetic experience, and your mind did label it bliss, or sometimes not. And so the thinking part, but it's good because you caught me in misuse of words almost, you know. I'm saying think about it, but I'm saying re-question that experience, the framing. And you don't have to like stop and analytically think it. You could do it in meditation. So later on, when you have an orgasm and you're having an experience, whatever you've done in meditation naturally arises. Yeah, so that's good. But what we want to do is relabel what's actually happening. And I'm calling that thinking, but it's not. It's reframing. So thank you for saying that. And you can do that pre-orgasm in meditation. You can sit and do a whole meditation on what is this extraordinary thing, an orgasm. Think of your best orgasm ever. Think about your worst orgasm. And then go, wow, orgasm doesn't have either nature. It's just like poop. What might have caused my mind to have a blissful orgasm? How can I get more of them? And what must have caused my mind to have a shitty orgasm? I want less of those. And I'll give you a shortcut. The answer is not the partner, the time of day, it's none of that. It is the way your mind naturally labeled that experience because something your mind has as a seed. And that's what's worth studying. And that's what the thinking is about. But once you're having it, no, don't stop and go, everybody wait, I'm about to because you can't do that. Yeah. Good catch. Thank you. Mila, was that better answer now? She gave you this finger, which is good. It's a thumb. Yeah. Okay. Anyone else had an orgasm? Anthony put both his hands up and he's like, oh, no, just once. Yeah, sorry. Good. Well, if you got no more questions, we're going to log off. And I'm really thankful for the goodness that you managed to, each of you, bring to 3 Joules, especially if you've taught or studied here. If this is your first time, think of orgasm. Thanks so much, everyone. Good night.
Someone asked something.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Nicole. Oh, there's a chat question. Yeah. Coco, can you read it? I can't see it because one of my computers is blocking the chat.
Okay, I believe this is Shalimar's question. How do we practice carrying this bliss into the next moments of existence when sexy time is completed? Thank you.
Yeah, great. You remember what I said? You can't pretend, right? Well, you can pretend, but you can't ignore what is. If the sexy time has finished and a different normal state of mind arises, what I do is I know for a fact that my mind has the seeds to experience states of bliss like that of an orgasm. Just that knowledge alone, as I walk around and recognize that everything else is empty of a nature and it could produce that state of bliss, but it doesn't, lets me stay connected to the possibility that your mind could have these states all the time. It's not object dependent. Yeah. If it was object dependent, then every time you have sexy time, you must have that orgasm bliss. That's not true. That's why it's important to study. See, that I wouldn't have all these answers in my mind so clearly were it not for all the study of all the sutras and all the commentaries that we get to learn here at 3 Joules. And so you can't force it in the moment. You're not having that experience at some point when the kitchen needs cleaning. Like you finished a nice time, you had the stunning orgasm, you walk into the kitchen, they didn't wash the dishes, and then a different state of mind arises. Can you at least intellectually remember that washing these dishes has the potential to be orgasmic? And that fact would make you wash the dishes slightly different because you're riding an old karma that doesn't let you have that thing. Just write it out, but remembering that it has that possibility might return next time you wash the dishes because you're reassociated normal to bliss. And if you wash the dishes enough times, then that might happen uncontrivedly after a while. Contrivedly beginning, uncontrivedly you put your hands in the dishwashing liquid and you're like, nobody look at me, you know, and the person in the sink next to you goes, I'll wash what she's washing. Yeah. Someone got my joke, thank you. Any other questions, Coco? I didn't see it in there. No, thanks for calling that out. Okay, now good night. Have lots of sex with right view, okay? Hold back on the orgasm. No, enjoy it. Stop thinking about it. Just enjoy it. Bye, everyone. Oh, thank you. It's weird to do this and this. They're not gone yet, so we have to be nice. Yeah. Just don't say that about them. Don't say that about Renato Juan. Okay. Okay. Bye, Anthony. Bye, Carly. Nice to see you. Bye, Ella. Stay in the cafe. Thanks, Sarah. Bye, Mark. Bye, Christine.